Hi, I'd like to welcome you to Sumaya Unveiled. Today we have a special guest, Jermaine Miller. He's so many things. He's an author, he's a motivational speaker, he owns multiple companies. He's amazing. And I have personally adopted him as my brother. I don't know why he looks like my dad, people. So don't write in and ask. But the elephant in the room is that he resembles my dad. And we'll talk about that a little bit after I introduce him. But he's an amazing person. And what I genuinely appreciate about him, I actually named him in the podcast that I had, I think it was last week with Dr. Kareem Ellis. And I talked about how Dr. Kareem, Johnny Wimbrey, and Jermaine Miller have been very instrumental in my father's life in just holding his arms up and making sure that he's going and he's strong because he's older and he gives off, he's 80 years old, but he gives off that he's 20 and he has all of that energy. And he has so many people all his life. He's had so many people just huddle around him. And some of those people, pull because he likes to give, they like to take. And it's not a bad thing. He likes to share his knowledge and his wisdom. But what I appreciate about Jermaine Miller is that he's one of those people that are rare that will come around like a Johnny Wimbrey, like a Dr. Kareem Ellis, and so many others that we know that can just pour into my dad, that can make sure that he's okay. Hey, sir, have you eaten today? If he's out speaking, or maybe you need to just take a nap for 30 minutes and I'll cover while you do this. Just different things like that that people don't always think about. It speaks to character. It speaks to his integrity. And I respect that. I can respect people that are not selfish, that are seeking to come along and serve. And that's one of the things that my father did early on when he became a speaker, really a disc jockey. He learned how to serve and he served his way to the top. And I believe that sometimes in our society, we get it twisted. And I'm going to introduce you, Jermaine, in a second. But sometimes in our society, we get it twisted and we think that we are just supposed to have a microphone in our hand. But that attitude of service, that attitude of what can I do to serve you? What can I do to help you? Are you okay? Do you need anything? That will take you a long way. And it actually adds merit to what you say when you do have a microphone in your hands. I want to thank you, Jermaine Miller, for being here today, for being amazing, for being a wonderful author. You have many books. I have 3 of them. I need to grab more, but just for being an amazing human and my brother that looks just like more like my dad than I do. Just thank you so much for being here today.
It's been an incredible journey being adopted to the family. I wouldn't trade that for the world, but I'm super excited to be here with you. I'm super proud of you for what you are putting together and bringing this love, light, and motivation to your podcast. So anytime you call me, you know I'm here.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And again, welcome. So I want to just dig in a little bit. I think the first time, if I'm not mistaken, I think the first time I found out about you was through Facebook, which I still kind of need to get back on to. I remember seeing you and I asked one of my brothers, I said, who is this guy? And I showed him you speak, and I was like, he's got our eyes and he looks like dad. I was like, and he actually has the goods, like he's a great speaker. And it to me, you just kind of like popped out of nowhere onto the scene and you had all the goods. It's not like you just came and I just saw you get better and better, but you actually came weighty with a good message and a good delivery. And so where did your passion kind of like start with motivation? Where did all of that come from?
Ironically, it came from our dad, like, right? So a lot of people are motivated by him, but I stumbled upon him years ago. I was in my early 20s. I was going through a challenging part of my life, like homeless and trying to find my way. And someone gave me his book, Live Your Dreams. And
Mm.
they actually told me that I look just like him and he's got a message that could probably help me live my dream. So it was at those early 20 years that I started following him. And one of the things that he said then that still resonates with me, I'm sure it still resonates with a lot of other people, is you have something special. You have greatness in you. You have something special. You have greatness in you. And, a lot of people will say things like you have greatness or you can do it. You'll be great in life or you're this, you're that. but it was just something about how he said it. And I think
Mhm.
at the position I was in, it caused me to listen to him a little bit more. And
Mhm.
because I was able to listen to him a little bit more at that time, it opened up all the other channels of, listening to a Earl Nightingale or Jim Rohn and
Mhm.
Tony Robbins and Brian Tracy and all of those
Mhm.
older gentlemen that are some are no longer here. But it caused me to look at that. And one of the things that I started realizing that rarely does your income exceed your personal development. So when I realized that I needed to always focus on what I needed to do to make me a better person from
Mm.
within. And that was one of the things that really started my whole journey up until this day with motivation.
Wow. So you went within, and it was a thought process, which I saw a clip on your Instagram, a video clip, and I said, there he goes on fire again, talking about your mindset into, and we're going to get into authorship a little bit, but it sounds like you don't just use your mind and your strategic thinking for your penmanship in terms of writing and creating books, but you also use it in terms of like when you decide to make a move in life or when you decide to achieve your goals. Am I correct
That's
in
correct.
that?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's correct. One of the things I realized is that nothing is true until it works for you.
Mm,
So we can go on and on talking about things, but we have to put the action, we have to see the results. And I think we live in a day and age now where a lot of people can tell you, what to do, but showing you how to do it is where things start to get foggy and why people don't actually accomplish their dreams. They really don't know how to. So,
mhm,
like your dad has been very influential in my life and showing me how to speak or how to
mhm,
deliver or how to get a message across. That's one of the things that I've learned over the course of these years. And
mhm,
that's being able to be the example first before you start. So life has to be its own trial and error, sort of say, within your world before you go out and start telling people that they could win. How can you tell someone they could win if you never won? Or how can you tell somebody they can come back from something if you've never come back from something? So it's very important that everything nothing is true until it works for you.
yes, and I'm so glad that you said that and that you talked about trial and error, because that kind of segues into just pulling back the veil on who Jermaine Miller is. And we see again this successful author, this successful entrepreneur who has multiple businesses. He's a writer, he's doing all of these things. He's, mentored by some motivational greats. But I want to go back to day one. I mean, obviously you were born, so we know there's that, right? But I want to go back to the difficult times, to the times before you were motivated and driven. What were some obstacles that you feel comfortable sharing that allowed you to evolve into the person that you are now and to really shift and change your mindset?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just life. When we're younger, we have this image or this idea of what we want to accomplish as we start to grow older in life. But very few people get told that there are going to be these challenges that
Mhm.
come in your life and could literally derail you, right? And I think it was James Allen who once said, circumstances reveal who we are to ourselves. And most of the time, when circumstances come, we think, somebody's trying to do something to us. I'm going down the wrong path, but circumstances only are here to show us who we are in the mirror. So when we sit at the edge of the bed or we sit at the edge of the couch or when we're praying or there's things that we want to accomplish, life doesn't give you the thing that you're asking for or praying for. It gives you the circumstance to see if you're willing to rise above it to become this person. So as far as where I have come, I've dealt with all kinds of challenges, marriage and divorce and, losing millions of dollars in multiple businesses and going from, not really having so many responsibilities to being a single full-time dad in the
Mhm.
process of also running multiple companies. So when we talk about trial and error and trying to figure things out and how to create balance. And this is all a part of the journey. But one of the most powerful things Les said to me years ago when I was going through a divorce and I was now becoming this full-time dad, he said, Jermaine, you have to learn how to balance work life with your children. Never give so much time and energy to your children that you know, lose in work, but never give so much time and energy to your work that you lose out on your children, because they will remember that. And so I had to figure out, you know, and that's one of the most recent challenges because that wasn't within the last 5 to 6 years. So we
Mm.
always have these challenges in our lives, but most of us really don't want to talk about it. We want to talk about the things that we can kind of tiptoe around instead of really talking about the things that like as my first editor in one of my first books said to me, she said, Jermaine, we could write 3 ways. We could write as transparent as possible. We could be somewhat transparent, or we don't have to be transparent at all, but they all come with 3 consequences. The
Mhm.
consequences is you'll tell all your business or you won't. But if you don't tell all your business, how are you going to impact and empower people that may be going through the things that you're withholding? So
Mm.
when we talk about like life like that and the challenges that we've gone through, yeah, I've gone through it all. Lose my grandmother and grandfather to cancer, you know, divorce, you know, all of those, you know, prison situations, all of those things. But I know those things don't define who I am, but it
Yes.
is a stepping stone of who I will become if I use it
Mhm.
properly.
Yes, I'm gonna add on to what to what our dad said about y- having a career and having kids, because I can tell you, because he is my father, I can tell you that one of the things, being on the other side, because he's speaking of it as like a motivational speaker and being a father, with me being his daughter, and I can speak for all of my actual blood siblings, we will all tell you that it's not about the quantity of time, it's the quality of time. So even as my father was saying to you, like, you know, make sure that you balance having the time with your kids but also having time into your career, even if you decide that those are going to be 50-50, for example, right? Just make sure that when you are with your kids during that 50% of your time, that you're giving 110%. And when you are in the workplace or doing your thing, you're giving 110% and you're making both of those things count, then it won't be an issue of like, okay, I gave them 80 today and I gave them 10. You know what I mean? Or I gave them this and I gave them that. And then I was pulled over here and gave 15% here. I think when you focus on the quality of the time, that's what really matters. And you know, when you're a kid, you don't understand, you know, that your father is changing the world and all of those different things. And as you get older and you become an adult, you start to mature and recognize. So as your kids get older, just to encourage you, they will understand, they will see the other side and go, aha, that's why, right? But what happens is you don't have that bitterness that sets in when you are taking that time and pouring into them and making sure that the time that you do spend with them is quality, you know, and key. So I think if you can hold those core values with what dad said along with what I said, then I think you're going to be fine in it. And I'm sure you're already doing that, because I've seen on social media your kids, they look like they're very well cared for and very loved. And you can, I'm a former teacher, so I can just look at a child, a teenager or whatever, I can tell, you know, because we can see it, because we have worked with so many kids. So I think that's outstanding. I guess my next question for you is, when you think about your journey, right? And how you talked about, you just mentioned some of the difficult things that you overcame in order to get to where you are. What was some of the conversations? So you know how like sometimes, you know, I would hear, you know, my dad say, you can't do this, Les Brown. You don't have a college education, you know, that kind of thing. Did you find yourself early on having those internal doubts talking to you? And what did it sound like? And how did you silence them if that was the case?
Yeah, I did. And, you know, I'd be naive to say I don't have them or I didn't have them this morning.
Mm,
It's what we're willing. I believe when we have those conversations, we also need to have who we really are as a person, right? Because if I know who I am, inwardly, externally, and dad always says this, the African proverb, if there's no enemy within, the enemy without can't do us no harm.
Mm,
It's always those inner conversations, and what I talked about in my book, The Magic Power of Your Inner Conversations. It's always those conversations that we are not aware, that we allow to overtake us, that we start walking down that same path, and then we manifest the very thing we don't want. So
mm,
if we knew that the thoughts that we had and the words that we say, because we're our own worst critics. I don't care how many people say negative things to us. There's nobody who can say more negative, damaging things to ourselves than us. So once we understand that, and we can take a look in the mirror and say, hey, you know, no matter how today looks, or no matter the things that I've gone through, I know I have the power to overcome. I believe it's all about the belief in what we can accomplish and the belief in who we are. And, when we don't have many accomplishments, and the accomplishments are far and few between, we don't have anything to really draw back on. So that's when we're able to dig into someone else, and have the belief in someone else's opinions of you until our own belief kicks in. So we have to be able to have things surrounded. I'm surrounded by greats. I'm surrounded by powerful people. I'm surrounded by people that I admire in the books. And we have to be able to go to those places when we're struggling, because every day we wake up, we're not going to say great things about ourselves, right?
yes.
I woke up this morning, I don't want to be a full-time dad. Those things happen. Those are things. I don't want to take the kids to school or cook for them or take them to sports activities every single day. But this is the path that we're on. So we have to be able to see ourselves in our magnificent state and always strive to be that person.
Mm. That's so good. I hear humanity. Like you're not trying to be, which I greatly appreciate, a superhero. You're just being very real. Yes, I'm successful. Yes, I've been able to overcome obstacles and push towards my goal. But at the end of the day, the struggle is still real. And I still have a mental resolve every single day to get up and handle business. Yeah, that's really good. And we need to hear that, because I think that that social media snapshot makes everything, gives us the impression as digital citizens, as global digital citizens, that we have it all together and everything is peaches and cream and everything's lovely. And you're like, no, sometimes I still don't feel like doing it,
Yeah, I
but
mean,
I do it.
yeah, we
Yeah.
get up, and someone who tells you otherwise, I don't know, but the more I think we don't set ourselves up for the positive. So we don't have enough. It's like going to the bank and not depositing enough affirmation, not depositing
Mhm.
enough positivity, not depositing enough prayer, or not depositing enough meditation, so that when things do happen in our lives, we go to the bank, we got no money, right?
Mhm.
There's nothing for us to withdraw because we don't set it up. We always wait until the circumstance hits, and now we're scrambling, looking for affirmations, looking for things that's positive, and that's living in the negative. So I think if we have some kind of setup, right? Our daily routine for success, where every day we get up and, read for 30 minutes, or listen to something motivational for 30 minutes, or pray, or look at our goals, or something that is helping us become a better person every single day, right? A goal. What is a goal? A goal causes you to become a different type of person in order to achieve it. So that means that if I'm not becoming somebody of value, if I'm not becoming someone great, then that's not really a goal. That's a checklist item. I can already do it. So when we have those things set up and we're becoming these great people every
Mhm.
single day, then those inner conversations that we have within ourselves, it's like, man, you know what? I'm gonna just go ahead and wipe this off my shirt, throw this off my arm. I'm gonna get back up in the ring, and I'm gonna do what I have to do to survive.
I think that's incredible. When you said, just you were speaking hypothetically, but you talked about kind of like getting up, you may have said journaling, but something like that, like on a spiritual level. How do you care for yourself? Because you are multiple things. You are a father, an entrepreneur. You have so many different things pulling you in different directions. So, how do you care for Jermaine? Like, what is your daily or weekly routine that you do to take care of yourself, because you're pouring out and giving out so much and you work hard. So how
I,
do you work just as hard caring for yourself?
it's something happened recently,
Mhm.
over the last few months. I had was dealing with some heart issues, and
Mm.
I didn't know. I'm young, 44 years old, just my
Mhm.
heart going crazy. So I went to the doctor. Doctors are like, there's nothing wrong. We run the test. I'm like, no, there's something wrong with my heart. Like I feel it, like,
Wow.
like I know it. They did the scans, they did everything.
Mhm.
Nothing comes back. But I laid on the bed and I started thinking about what could contribute to what I'm dealing with. And it was stress.
Mm.
Just
Yeah.
the amount of things that we put in our bag and we put it over our shoulder and we carry it every day and not taking care of ourselves, right? So one morning I said, okay, I need to focus truly on myself. And that doesn't mean I don't take care of others. But as they say, when you're on the airplane, if we're going down, put this mask on you first, and then you can take care of others. Because if you can't take care of yourself, you're no good for others. So what I started doing, and it turned into, I think, a revolution online. I started going to the gym every day, and I said, you know what, I'm going to try this stairmaster thing, right? I'm going to just start, 30 minutes, and then it went to 60 minutes, and then it went to an hour and a half, and then went to two hours. So people start seeing me do this, and now we have like, 50, 60 people now that are racing online every morning or afternoon saying how many steps they took, how many this. And it started for me just to do something to make sure my health was in check, because we have a legacy. And I think every morning people get up and they're so focused on the money, they're so focused on the success, and that's the legacy that they want to leave behind. But one
Mhm.
thing I remember talking to Dad about, and I had actually called him, and he said to me, he said, Jermaine, if you got a problem that money and people can solve, you don't got no problems. And that's one of the things I
Mm.
always thought about, because if we ever get to a point where it's a health related issue, and it doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank, it doesn't matter how many smart people you got around you, and it can't be fixed, then what is life worth living in terms of working to earn all this money?
Mm.
So when I
Mhm.
started focusing on the health, no longer have the heart issues, when I started changing my
Mm.
diet and discipline in that aspect, that became a very integral part. So I feel one, always have to have a level of, taking care of yourself from the physical,
Yeah.
internal aspect, from the diet perspective, right? But then the mindset as well, because if those things are not clicking, is nothing
Mhm.
you can do in this world, to be able to be as great as you really want to be.
Wow, that's so good. You really, because I was actually gonna ask you about that. I was thinking, "Okay, now what does he do with the mind?" But you're taking care of both. So you're not just on one side saying, "Oh, I'm just gonna take care of my body and leave my mind back here." But you're saying, "No, I'm going to care for my mind and care for my body and be very intentional about that, because in order for me to be able to give out, I've got to pour in." And you're not gonna pour out of, obviously, as they say, it's cliche, but it's true, an empty glass. So I think that's super wise. So what is it that you can tell us in these last few moments about where you want maybe the audience to go to kind of check out your books or your programs that you're offering? What's going on with you? Let's share with the audience, and assume that they don't know what I know, and just pour that into the audience so that they can learn more about Jermaine and some of your amazing resources that you offer.
Yeah. So a few years ago, I won't say a few, because I think it's about 20 now. When I was homeless and knocking on doors to try to sleep on people's couch, I had got my real estate license in the early 2000s. And that was the time where I started listening to motivational messages and things like that. And I found myself sleeping in the office until I got my first check. And then I got my first check and I made some more money, and all this stuff started working out. It started clicking, up to the point where I got enough courage to start my own real estate brokerage. I was the
Mm,
first African American real estate owned brokerage in the area that I live in. And I thought that that was a challenge. But one of the things that I realized is, because I was selling homes to people that I didn't just like selling homes or helping people change their lives by buying homes, I wanted to help people change their lives in general, right? Because I
Mm.
started seeing a trend with people coming in and out of the office, and I realized that most people's income was tied to their problems. And if you can help a person solve their problem, their income could change. How do you do
Mhm.
that? You have to you have to go through the motivation, right? The self-help development. So I started that, and I started these programs. So 2.5 years ago, we started our publishing company, JM Publishing. We work specifically with entrepreneurs, but we work with anybody who's looking to take their brand, their
Mhm.
message, whatever it is that they have, and put it in a book, and we show them how to create income with it. So that's some of the journeys that I've been going on these last few years because of, the impact that Les has had in my life.
That's awesome. So it sounds like he made an impact on you and you made an impact on other people. You said, I'm going to pay it forward and make sure that I'm equipping people who desire to do this, something that I've done and know how to do skillfully. And you're giving them the skills and your knowledge and your expertise so that they can execute that goal and under your watchful care. I think that's it's super admirable that you are doing that work and empowering people to live their dreams and kind of just essentially walking arm in arm and guiding them along through that process. So thank you for that, because
Yeah.
that is actually a job of service. Like, you're serving others, and I think that's some of the most fulfilling work. Do you find a lot of fulfillment in giving back to others, or do you see a difference in terms of like certain tasks that you have where like maybe you're doing something that's administrative, right, versus like where you're engaging with people and serving them? How does that feed you, like, internally?
Yeah, I think, one of the most powerful lines I've ever heard is, service to many leads to greatness.
Hmm.
Yeah, we could serve one person, but how many more people's lives will change when we serve many? And so when you talk about the admin part, no, I might not be so excited to do the admin part,
Hmm.
but just knowing that we've traveled down this road before and seeing the person going through the turbulence of life, and you're just the pilot. You're the pilot on this ship, and you like, listen, I know we're going to a destination, I know we're gonna land. You just buckle your seatbelt. We may go through some turbulence, but I'm good. I know where we're going. And that's the service to many, right? That's the service that's leading to greatness. And that's knowing that, like I said, you've been down this road before. You've traveled down this area before, and you've perfected it. I think one of the biggest challenges we have is then now tying that journey that you've gone on, right? Because I
Hmm.
do believe deep down the things in life we go through are never about us, but they're about the people's lives will change because we overcame it. We have to overcome it, right? Somebody's gonna go through the things that you've gone through, and they may not come out looking as beautiful as you are, but they're gonna go through it. But if you don't say anything, or if you don't overcome the thing that they're going through, they might not actually make it. So it's very important for us to go through the things, but then say, okay, now I'm going to put on my suit and I'm going to go back out here, and I'm going to motivate these people to say, hey, listen, I've gone through that. You can make it through the turbulence too as well. So service to many always leads to greatness.
Oh, you are spot on. I was thinking as you said it, and I have so many thoughts as you're speaking. But one of the things I was thinking about was like the idea of greatness, right? And we know for some people may or may not be familiar with a message, and it's where my dad has his high school teacher tell him, you have greatness within you. And so then my dad essentially takes that motivational message and pours it out to different people. And now greatness is like this catchphrase all these years later that people are constantly saying, and I'm sure people before him have said it as well. But what I hear you saying is another take at it, because I think when people hear about greatness, oh, I have greatness on the inside of me, it's almost like they assume that that greatness is meant to be contained and housed for a human body. But
Mm-hmm.
greatness, I mean, to me, is too infinite to really be able to remain in a human frame, because we're dust. But
Correct.
what you said, we have skills and abilities or talents that we need to pour out to other people, so we have great skills. We have great talents. We have great abilities. We have great ways that we can actually serve people and get in with people and make sure that they are getting what they need. And so I think that that's great. That's a form of greatness. And that's what it's about. If we're just doing it to be great, which is not what you're saying, right? If we're just doing it to just have everybody say, "Oh, that's the man, that's the woman," then we have our reward. But
Right.
when we shift our thinking in the way that you're talking about, and we look at the reason why we do what we want to do, the people that need to be reached, the person who's struggling, who needs to know, I can write a book. I'm like Jermaine, I didn't know I could. I saw a clip that I put on my page because, first of all, you're amazing in terms of how you delivered that with so much conviction. And there's truth. It wasn't just like a good delivery, but it's solid truth. And you were referencing your process of writing a book and how at first, it was hard and how long it took you. And I don't want to misquote the amount of years for the first book to the second to the third, but you were talking about that process. And just recently, I think it was maybe last week, or it hasn't even been like a week and a half. I was speaking to someone and they were just mentioning to me, and I just met them. They were saying that they were trying to write a book, but they've been wanting to write a book for years. They don't know where to start, where to blah blah blah. And what would you say to someone who is in that mindset, saying, "I can't do it. I don't know how to write a book." How would you help encourage them based off of your own personal experience overcoming that challenge?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, that's probably the biggest reason people don't write a book,
Hmm.
right? They don't really know where to start, or they have an idea of them being an author, but they've been writing a book in their head for like the last 7 years. So it's
Hmm.
like this is never going to happen. It just kind of goes on in my head. But I think the three reasons why people don't actually write a book is one, they don't believe their story's powerful enough to share it with
Mm.
others. I think that's the number one reason. They don't believe in themselves. They believe the things that they've gone through could be traumatic, could be life changing, could be life altering, but they don't believe it's powerful enough to share it with someone else. The second reason why people don't write a book is because they don't feel like they've accomplished all the things that they feel like they need to accomplish in life. So I've had some people say, well, you know what, if I give me like another 5 years, I'm still trying to figure life out. And I'm like,
Mhm.
well, how old are you again? Like you've already gone through some things that I'm sure that
Mhm.
if you sat down and really thought about it, you can really impact somebody
Mhm.
right now with where you are right this second. But the last thing I think, which could be number one as well, is that I think people don't realize that they can actually earn a lot of money from writing books. So they just never do it. They don't really see the money there. And then if they do see the money there, they go, oh man, my story's not all that important enough for me to make all this money. Right.
Mhm.
And so I think those are the three reasons. And when you get beyond that, those three reasons, and you can just sit down and say, well, what do I want to write about? Who do I want to talk to? Right. I don't talk about a target audience. I talk about a community. And the reason why I talk about a community is because the people that's in your communities know, like, they trust you. They always going to support you. So you got to talk to your community. And I think once you start writing to your community, writing to your people, writing, then that's when your message starts to overflow and spill out, because then they're going to share it with their communities, and then those communities are going to share it with those other people's communities. And I think we get so narrow minded when it comes down to writing that we can only really see maybe our family and friends purchasing our books, but we don't see us being great because we wrote a book. And I think once we get through those little tiny challenges, that will stop everybody from saying, man, I got this book in my head that I've been writing for 5 years and I just can't seem to get it out.
That's awesome. So you have a publishing company and you have a number of services that you're offering. And so you have a special opportunity for viewers that are watching who are interested in writing their books. So I want you to discuss that just a little bit and so we
Yeah,
can dig into that.
absolutely. So our publishing company is a unique publishing company in the sense that not only do we help authors uh, by ghostwriting, coaching authors on how to write, like literally coaching sessions that help people through the process of writing, or giving them the blueprint and they write it on themselves. That's all contingent upon a person's book publishing budget. But we also offer courses on how to do the very same thing. So that means that you can, from the comfort of your own home, go over how things should work, through the recordings. Or we also offer downloads of books. So for example, I have a book that you can download at jmpublishingllc.com called Just Write the Damn Book, right? How to get through the funk of writing a book. Or my book, The Entrepreneur Author, which is really another component to the publishing company that we provide. And that's basically helping authors build the platform for themselves, like websites and funnels and all of those different things that people actually don't realize can actually help them with their book and whatever the end goal is for them to do. So if they want to, be a motivational speaker, or if they want to have certain types of platforms, or if they want to offer, we worked with two young ladies who want to offer services for women, and their goal was to do events for women, whether they've been abused or losing weight. It was all about motivating women. So we took their book, created a platform for them, and now they're speaking in public with their material and their books and things of that nature. So those are a few of the things that we help authors do with the Entrepreneur Author, because we wanted to get to a place where there's no longer a reason why you're not writing a book. If it's the money, we can help you with courses. If it's not the money and you don't have the time, we can help you write the book. If it's you don't think you're going to earn the money with your book, let us build out a platform for you, from ebooks to books and all of those different type of things, so that we're a one-stop shop and you can put yourself in position to earn the income with your book.
I'm speechless. That's the game. You're bringing the game to people and saying, "Hey, look, you need to write a book, but you also need to know how to promote it, how to be able to sell it, all of the everything that someone would have to know in order to have a successful book and to be a successful author. You have, it sounds like, in this program. And so you've thought of everything, and you have a team of people that are equipped to deliver. So I encourage the viewers who are watching to definitely go to the website, and I'll make sure that I put a link in the bio so that you guys can click on it and join Jermaine in this process. If you desire to write a book, it's possible. I just want to thank you for sitting here, joining me today, bro. You are amazing at all that you do, and keep doing what you're doing. Remain diligent, and it was such a joy and honor to have you here on Sumaya Unveiled.
Likewise. And again, I want to thank you for the invitation and me being here. And obviously, I've let my reputation over the last few years of us being family and friends. So you know me for real.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate you, and I want to support any way I can to help your show get to where you want it to be. So I'm a phone call away all the time.
Thank you, Jermaine. I really appreciate you. And thank you for watching Sumaya Unveiled. We'll see you next time.